The enemy could not believe what they saw. It was 1944 in the Mediterranean, and bomb craters that should have grounded entire wings were becoming runways by dusk. Bombers had ripped apart concrete and tossed up clouds of dust. Local radio reports declared airfields ruined. Pilots logged mission success and went home. Yet by late afternoon, motors were growling again. Reconnaissance planes circled, photo analysts in Rome and Berlin scratched their heads, and field engineers recorded times that did not match their textbooks. The secret was not a new bomb. It was a method, not exotic technology, but a way of organizing men, materials, and steps so that repair became a predictable part of the mission. That simple idea changed who had practical air superiority and why it mattered. Enemy reports first assumed good luck or hidden stores of materials. Lieutenant Colonel Weiss and Commander Saito sent teams to inspect craters and matting. They found bits of steel and packed gravel and lines of punctured sod, and they concluded repairs would take weeks. Allied pilots told a different story in wire reports, a runway usable in hours. Allied names appear in the margins of the files. Engineer Bauer logged supplies, Sergeant Miller counted men, Lieutenant Hayes timed crews, Captain Ramirez wrote orders. Photographs showed patterned plates being laid like tiles. The Axis expected chaos. They found rehearsed choreography. Men on the ground smelled dust and solder heated under lamps and heard the metallic clack of plates being bolted and the low murmur of coordination. Analysts in enemy headquarters ran calculations built for ad hoc repairs and kept missing the variable that mattered most, repetition and standardization that turned rubble into routine. If this intrigue already made you curious, you are not alone. Tell us in the comments which factor you think mattered most, organization, technology, or luck. Start your comment with organization or technology so we can gather answers for a future episode. Now the real reason opens up as a principle, not a gadget. Americans treated airfield repair as part of logistics and doctrine. They developed a repair pattern using prefabricated matting sheets, steel plates, and compacted ballast that could be delivered in pallets and installed by small teams. Instead of relying on master craftsmen working improvisationally, they created crews trained to repeat a short list of tasks. The process reduced decision fatigue and sped execution. Where an enemy engineer tried to design a permanent fix, the Americans aimed for function first, runways that were safe enough to launch and recover aircraft that same day. Materials were simple but chosen for speed. Plates snapped into place under wet light, so vibration and wind did not dislodge them. The method accepted imperfections and focused on mission readiness. The doctrine said, prepare to be hit and make repair a mission objective equal to flying sorties. A practical demonstration makes this obvious. On a moonlit strip, Corporal Chung felt the cold steel under his palms and stamped ballast with a shovel. He smelled diesel and sweat while lights hummed overhead. Major Thompson walked the line and asked, "How long to open one lane?" He tapped his stopwatch and said, "We need 30 minutes." Engineer Bauer wiped grime from his face and answered, 20 to 30 if the crew holds pattern. Sergeant Miller adjusted a board and asked, "Do we have spare plates?" Lieutenant Hayes checked the manifest and replied, 10 more on pallet 3. There was no hesitation. The exchanges were brief and precise, and each order created immediate action. Men heard the clink of rivets, saw the groove of a plate seating, and felt the sting of cold air on their cheeks. The scene smelled of hot metal and oil, and tasted of grease on the lips of exhausted sergeants. 5 named figures appear here to show that this was people, not theory. Major Thompson, Engineer Bauer, Sergeant Miller, Lieutenant Hayes, Corporal Chong, plus Nurse Davis, who logged casualties and sent messages back to command. The strategic effect was disproportionate. Enemy commanders adjusted targeting priorities and sometimes wasted sorties destroying places that would be up by nightfall. Psychological shock set in. Pilots expected downtime after a strike, but found fields alive and crews moving like clockwork. Reports from the front note that bombing raids lost effectiveness not because more bombs were needed, but because the operational goal shifted. Destroying a runway no longer guaranteed denial of airspace. Logistics officers like Captain Ramirez and logistics planners like Hayes started treating repair equipment as high-value cargo. Doctrine changed. Where once permanence was prized, speed and redundancy became the standard. Allied headquarters codified drills and stockpiled matting, and crews trained in mock campaigns. Axis engineers who had measured repair by hours now measured it by minutes and recalibrated strategy. The legacy is clear and modern. The same idea underpins rapid runway repair units today, supply chain staging, and disaster response. Standardized teams, pre-packed kits, and rehearsed procedures turn destruction into a temporary obstacle rather than a campaign end. What looked like a clever trick was actually a lesson in organization and doctrine. A simple change in how people and materials are patterned and assembled shifted strategic balance. If this story surprised you, subscribe for more episodes that dig into the small ideas that changed big wars. And remember that sometimes the most decisive weapon is a plan executed faster than anyone expects.